everyone, welcome back to Stacie's Corner. I'm Stacie, and continuing the City of Bones story, Luke just spilled everything about Clary's past and how he knew his mom and everything, and he's waiting for her to speak, and he said, "Are you gonna say anything?" And Clary's just thinking, like she's feeling like all this despair on her, and like she's gonna fall in this despair of all of her mother's secrets if she does say something. But then all of a sudden she looks up at Luke, and she sees him, and he says, "Are you telling me that my father never existed? That the picture on the mantle was not my father?" And he said, "No, it wasn't." And she said that, "Was there ever a John Clark?" And he said, "Yes, John Clark was a son of your mom's neighbors that lived at the East Village where you guys were at. He did die in a car crash, but for his funeral, the family members gave your mom the photo of him and asked her to draw a portrait of him in his army uniform. So when she was done, she gave him the portrait, but she kept the picture." And she was wondering that, she remembered the box that had JC on it, and she said that, so that lock was not my father. And he said, "No." She said, "That's Jonathan, my brother. I had a brother. No wonder you said that Claire is not like Jonathan. You're referring to my dead brother." And I had a brother. And Luke said, "Do you understand why your mom kept this from you, so you wouldn't have this burden on you? Because this all happened before you were born." And but she still wished she was told, even though I hope she understood why her mom did it, but this is why. She didn't want her to be burdened of all her past. And then she said, "Are you telling me that Valentine's my father?" And he said, "Yes, he's your father. And he's evil." And Luke was about to tell her, "No, he's not." And she said, "Don't even think that, because he's the one that wants to wipe the humans out, or try to make sure everybody's just pure blood, and wanted to just destroy everything so he can have his cult. We should just go after him and kill him." And he said, "Don't say that." But she said, "I want to know where he is. I want to find my mother, and there's Jace that he has. He's probably torturing him as also. We need to find out where his lair is." And Magnus said that the only portals were at Dorothea's and also Renwick's. And Luke gave her like this puzzled look, like, "Renwick?" So he called for his first in command, which is Gretel, and he said, "Can you get me a phone book?" So she goes and gets him a phone book, grumbles as he does it, and while they're thinking of it, because he said Dorothea's portal is destroyed when we fought the Greater Demon. And so they bring the phone book back, and while he's looking through the phone book, Gretel is doctoring Clary's scars and injuries, and she's asking her what happened. And Luke said, "I was going to ask you the same thing." And Clary said, "Hugo, Hodges' bird, attacked him. He had him attack me." And Luke said, "You mean Hugin? That's Valentine's pet. It means attack. In Hugin, it means attack. So that's why he attacked you, because that's what he was trained for and raised for." And so he probably took Valentine's pet after the uprising. So after he was thumbing through the phone book, he didn't say, "It's not under a name." And Clary had a bright idea and said, can I get a phone? Do you have a cell phone and or anything I could call? And he kind of was worried that she was going to do something, and she said, I just want to make a phone call. So Gretel goes, gets a phone, and he comes back with this old ancient cell phone, and she dials and she calls Simon, and he said, Clary, are you alright? Is there anything wrong with Isabel? And Clary said, why would you want to know what's wrong with Isabel? Is Alec okay? And she didn't want to tell him what's going on with Alec and Isabel. She said, no, they're fine. I just need you to look something up for me. And he was about to say, doesn't the Shadow Hunters have a computer? But he said, never mind. He goes into the computer and he typed. She said, what do you want me to look up? And she said, can you look up Renwick? So he does, and he said it's on Roosevelt Island, and it was a old hospital back in the many years ago, where smallpox was an outbreak, and so they would have all the people that had smallpox go to this hospital and be quarantined there and try to get help. And then after the smallpox was over, they left the hospital to get it be furnished and remodeled. But nobody's been there for many years. It never really got done. And so she said, okay, thank you. And at first he said, do you need a ride? She said, no, I got it. I'll talk to you later. So they get off the phone, and she tells Luke it's a hospital that was when the smallpox was out there, and it's on Roosevelt Island. And he said, wait a minute, you mean Blackwell's Island? And that is a Shadow Hunters thing, and Blackwell's one of the people in the circle that works and helps Valentine. And so I should have thought that. So he gets all of his clan, the Wolf clan, together, and they are going to head out to Roosevelt Island to go to the Renwick estate. And so they all get out, and he gets in his truck, and there's other vehicles and a bus with all the Wolf clan, and they're driving towards the Roosevelt Island. And while they were there, she said, so you're a leader, and how long have you been a leader? And he said, only a week. And she remembers back when she was hiding in Luke's office at his house, where all the scratches and his arm he was touching his arm and supporting it, and that's probably where he fought the leader, because he had to fight the leader to become the leader of the pack. But he was not prideful when he told her the story, but he said, I had to do something because I needed a pack behind me to go against Valentine. And so she said, well, you can put your head out the window. And he said, well, I'm a werewolf, not a golden retriever. And she said, do you guys always change right at the full moon? And he said, only the young ones, the young that first become werewolves, they change. But us older ones, the full moon has to be completely full before it will make us change. So they get to the outskirts of the Roosevelt Island near the Renwick estate, and they get out, and there's a big chain link fence, and she's trying to look, and she just sees a bunch of light and like a really run down broken walls and crumbling roof and stuff like that all over the place. And Luke said it's just a really big, strong glamour, and so she really tries to relax and look past the lights. And when she relaxes and looks past the lights, she can actually see like this, looks like a castle. That looked like a Gothic castle. And so she said, it looks like a big, gigantic castle. And so they all they get around Luke to find out what's going to happen. And so they get near the fence. His third in command, Ulrich, he takes his claws out and slashes the fence, and it crumbles to the ground, and they all duck in and get in on the other side of the fence. And all the wolves make like a circle facing out around Luke and Clary, and Luke tells Clary to stay with him and at all times, no matter what. And as they're starting to walk, they look towards the Renwick estate, and they see like these dark shadows coming down the stairs. And Ulrich says it's like you can smell like death in the air, and Luke says it's the Forsaken. Because and they start heading up, and right before it's like a split second, Clary can hear one of the wolves getting attacked by the Forsaken, and things getting shredded apart, and then there's big fights with the Forsaken, and one gets in through the circle and almost attacks Clary, but Gretel, his second right hand man, gets in and tries to attack the Forsaken, and Ulrich snatches up Clary and starts heading her to the doors of Renwick, and he says, "Don't look back," and it's too late. She was looking back as Luke is going towards to try to protect Gretel from the Forsaken, but it was too late. The Forsaken was stabbing her in the back with his dagger until she was no longer alive, and then Luke took his sword and slashed at the Forsaken until it was dead. And he gets to the top of the stairs near the door, and she said, "Where's Luke?" And he says, "I'm right here." And he tells his Ulrich wants to go with them, and Luke says, "No, you need to stay here." And he said, "Well, I'm now your second-hand in command, and I think that's just wrong." And Luke said, "I command you to stay with the other ones and help fight against the Forsaken." And he kind of resents him, but he does it anyway. And Clary and Luke kicks down the door, and they walk inside and shut the door. And inside it's dark, and he can't take this torch that's on the wall off. So Clary pulls out her the witch light that Jace gave him, and he says, I haven't fought with witch light for a long time." So they head up the stairs, and on the first floor is a long corridor with doors, and it could be like private rooms that the hospital had before when it was a hospital. And so they go through one door, and it's empty, nothing going on except the light from the window. The second door they go through, it's a room full of all weapons. And the third door they open up, and it has a bed in it, and on the bed is Jocelyn in a white nightgown, has a tube in her arm that's going in, that's also attached to some type of liquid stuff that's on the table. And she goes over to her mom, and she's just laying like she's asleep and dreaming, but she can't move. She gives her a hug, and at first she thought she would just cry when she first meets her mom, but she just feels rage because of the person that's done this to her. Because what's going on is her mom has manacles on her wrists and on her feet that's strapped to the floor, and Luke cannot break them because they're silver. And she said, "Well, there's an axe in the weapon room that I saw." And he said, "These are, you cannot break them like that. You have to get the key." And right when they were about to go or out, Blackwell was at the door, and he said, "So you got a clan now, Luke, or Lucian, and but you have them fighting for you as always, and you're up here with your girlfriend." And he looks at Clary and said that but she's too young for you. And Lucian says but you're also the lapdog for Valentine type of thing. And he said that give me the key so I'll take Jocelyn away and you can have the cup and do your thing. And Blackwell says that that first of all you need to take your pack away, and but the Forsaken will be just like us, because that's what Valentine's going to do. He's going to use the cup and turn the Forsaken into shadow hunters. And he said, why hasn't he done it already? And he's about to tell him why, until Pagborn comes in, and he said, you talk too much, Blackboard. And he said that so right when that happened, Lucien picks something up off the table and throws it at Blackborn, and it strikes him in his neck, which causes him to fall and die. And Pagborn said, well, are you going to go and get another syringe or something and attack me, or are you just going to let something happen? And right before that, Luke whispers something into Clary's head, but Pagborn says, I'm not going to let you go. I've always wanted to, for a long time I wanted to kill you. So Luke's about to turn, and she realizes what he whispered to her. It says, run. So Pagborn has his sword out, and she skittles past Pagborn, and he doesn't realize her, and she hears a howl and a big crash, like maybe they knocked the stuff off the table. So she goes down the corridor, and or she goes down to the corridor to the weapon room, and she tries to pick up an axe or a sword, and she can't because it's like stuck. And after her fingers being aching, her nails are broken, she realizes that there's magic in this room, like strong, powerful magic, not like the runic magic that the shadow hunters use. So she decides to go all the way down to the other end of the corridor, and to see if she should go upstairs or downstairs. And she has a gut feeling that she shouldn't go downstairs in the dark. So she goes up, and when she gets upstairs, there's another corridor with doors. Some of them are open, and they're empty. But she decides to go all the way to the end of the corridor to the last door on the left, and she walks in. And inside there's it's like a beautiful room, like with antique furniture and from like an art gallery. A beautiful mirror and a table with all beautiful china and piles of food everywhere. And at the window there is it's Jace. She can recognize him with his because the moonlight shining on his hair and his built. And she says, Jace, and he turns, and she runs to him, and he gives her a big hug and says, what are you doing here? And she said, I come to take you back. I came with Luke. And he said, oh, you made a big mistake. You shouldn't have done this, you silly child. What were you thinking? And she said, I was thinking of you and to rescue you. And he said, you need to have the pack be called off. And she's like, what? And then she realizes, wait a minute, when she last saw him, he was dirty, he was bloody, his clothes were all messed up, and now he looks freshly clean in clean clothes. He even got his ring back on that Hodge took off of him. And she said, wait a minute, is that your clothes? You're all clean, and your wounds are all healed. Valentine's been keeping you nice and well. And she said, you didn't kidnap yourself. You need to come with me. And he said, you have it all wrong. My father's alive. And she said, no, he's not. He died. And he said, no, Hodge lied to me all those years. And I have spoken to my father in person. And he's the one that gave me these clothes. and she's thinking that he was being lied to again, and she's trying to convince him, and while she's talking to him, she hears the creak of the door open, and in comes this tall guy with silvery hair and with a sword strapped to his side, and it's Valentine. And he said, "Are you ready? Do you have all your stuff packed? Our Forsaken can only hold off so much longer." And when he says that, he realizes, wait a minute. He sees Clary like he's astonished, and she grabs out, reaches for her dagger that she had in her side pocket, and she's wanting to kill him. She thinks she could kill him, and as she's going to go after him, Jace grabs her wrist and says no, and she's like shocked, and he said, "Clary, this is my father." And that's all I was able to read today. I hope you like it. Hit like, hit subscribe, and I'll talk to you guys on Monday. Love you. Bye.